Good evening. Our next guests are two leaders in Congress who show how Democrats and Republicans can cooperate to strengthen U.S.-Israel relationship. They work closely on pro-Israel legislation in the House of Representatives, and just last week, they co-sponsored new legislation to impose sanctions against Iran for its ballistic missile program. They also make time to travel to Israel every 2 years with new members of Congress to see firsthand the challenges Israel faces. And they continue to join us on this stage, for which we are very grateful. Please join me in welcoming House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Democratic Whip Steny Hoyer. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here as always.
Yeah, with everything you have to manage, it must be a relief to be in front of an audience that just wants you to bring peace to the Middle East, huh?
It's a good thing to be with this audience, whatever they want.
Absolutely. You know, 2 years ago, the three of us were in Israel together. And we had lunch together. I remember it clearly, with over 40 members of Congress, most of them freshmen, and with a bunch of young Israeli soldiers, many of whom had come from America, come to Israel to defend Israel, and they had lunch with their members of Congress.
You know, Arne, I have my phone with me, and I have a picture of a young IDF woman who was with us, and they were really excited. And I want to thank Kevin McCarthy. We've done these trips a lot. That was really the first time we'd done them together. Yes. We overlapped, and we had the opportunity to show what I think is critically important to show, and that is that, as Paul Ryan just said, it's the Congress. It's not Republicans, it's not Democrats, it's the Congress. And Kevin and I worked together very closely to make sure that happened.
That was. When I first became leader, the first thing I did was go down and see Steny. And you may watch us on TV. We'll debate a lot, but we're still friends when the debate's over. And is there one issue that actually strengthens our friendship? It's Israel. We make sure that issue is a bipartisan issue. But so many times on these trips where we bring freshmen to Israel, Democrats would go 1 week, Republicans would go the other. I said, why don't we overlap a few days? And we started that last year, and I will tell you what, it's refreshing, because they see the exact same thing, but they bond together just as we bond together in our votes. And we're going to do it again this summer as well, with all the freshmen going.
It's outstanding. You know, Congressman McCarthy, tell us a little bit about what it means to have freshmen there in Israel, both for them to understand the issue and for building the bipartisan support for Israel.
Well, you could hear all about, and they understand the challenges of Israel, but you do not know it until you see it, till you look over, where you're sitting with an Iron Dome and looking into Gaza, or the narrowness within 9 miles. It is a life-changing event. And when we sit there the night before the departing, there's not a dry eye in the place. They were passionate before. But as we have all these fiscal challenges, I will guarantee you, I will take my most conservative member, and they'll want to cut anything in the budget except the aid to Israel, because they know the importance of it.
Very true. You know, and then when they come back to Congress, there's a chance to work together in a bipartisan way. The two of you are lead co-sponsors now on legislation to push back on Iran, to sanction it for its ballistic missile program. Congressman Hoyer, tell us a little bit about the outlook for that legislation.
Well, you heard that's Kevin and I co-sponsor, and we have Mr. Royce, who's the Republican chair of the committee, and Mr. Engel, who's the ranking, the Democrat on the committee. And I think one of the very, very positive things for all of you must be that on the Foreign Affairs Committee, you see a lot of controversy, a lot of confrontation, a lot of disagreement, philosophical and political disagreement in almost every committee, but you do not see that with Mr. Elliott and Mr. Royce. Yeah. They are working together, and Kevin and I are glad to work with them. I've had the opportunity of working with a number of leaders through the years. It seems to me I sort of stay there. The others seem to come and go. But Roy Blunt and I work close together. Tom DeLay and I work closely together, as I think some of you know. And I'm glad to be working, and of course, Eric Cantor and I work very closely together. Right. And I'm glad that Kevin is keeping that tradition up and that we are working together on behalf of issues that clearly we have an agreement on, clearly we believe are critical to the national security of the United States of America, as well as to Israel. The partnership that has maintained now since 1948 is one that's going to continue. I know if Kevin and I have anything to say about it, for as long as we're in the Congress and working together.
Yeah. Well, there's a good point, too. And I kind of miss not being in the round. That thing was kind of fast. But Iran has tested 14 times ballistic missiles. Right. No other country has spent that much money without trying the pursuit of a nuclear weapon. That's why this bill is so critical at this juncture. And, you know, I missed it. I didn't come in. But how refreshing is it to have Nikki Haley? I love it when she tells the UN Human Rights Council they need to change. Yep. They need to focus on human rights and stop punishing Israel for being a democracy. This is so refreshing to so many people inside Congress.
That's absolutely right.
Arne, one of the messages that we need to send and why this legislation is so important, the JCPOA obviously has been controversial. It's in place. It's being followed now, as the speaker pointed out. It is relatively temporary. And what we need to do is send a clear message, and this sanctions legislation will do that, that notwithstanding the agreement on all that you do of a non-nuclear basis, we are going to step in quickly. The administration's going to do it, the Congress is going to do it, to send a message that that activity is unacceptable. And we will respond, and respond appropriately, vigorously, and toughly.
And all of these activists will be showing up at your offices on Tuesday morning to make that case as well.
Good.
We're talking about the reset with Iran, but there's also other ways that the relationship with Israel continues to develop. Congressman McCarthy, water is so important to your state. Sometimes too little, lately maybe a little bit too much every now and then. But tell us a little bit about the possibility of Israel and the U.S. working more closely together on water.
Well, this is key. There's so many places we can bond with Israel. Yes, when it comes to security, but when it comes to technology, innovation, and especially water, how precious that is. Look, I'm from California, and sometimes we have none. Yeah, we should prod that.
A little larger than Maryland.
But
we got a good crowd here, yeah. I'm sure.
But you don't see many Republicans from California. That's why it's more important. But, California has actually gone into a pact with Israel because they know how precious water is, but look at what innovation they've been able to do. Being able to bring salt water into fresh water. But one thing I want them to really teach California is not to waste the water and send it out to the ocean. So when we're there, especially from the ag community and others, from drip irrigation and others, we bond together, and it only makes our two countries stronger. When we're able to have that innovation, be able to find the preciousness of water, but what does water do? Water grows so much. And at the same time, it's going to grow our crops, it's going to grow our relationships stronger.
Absolutely.
You know, Arne, California, obviously, and the world has an extraordinary need for potable, drinkable, healthy water. So that's extraordinarily important. In Maryland, one of the things we do is cybersecurity. Right. And we work a lot on cybersecurity. We have a cybersecurity center at the University of Maryland, and the National Security Agency is
in your state.
In my state. And we hope that FBI is coming to our state. But we have seen how important cybersecurity is. We've seen it in this past election, but we've known about it for a long period of time. And the partnership we have with Israel, which is, of course, one of the leading cybersecurity technology proponents in the world, is, we think, very critically important. So there's so many areas, as Kevin points out, where not only are we, from a security standpoint, partners, but we have so much in common from technology, from business, from culture, that we cooperate in as well. And that strengthens that relationship every day.
Absolutely. So let me close by asking something we bring up almost every year, which is the assistance to Israel. And this year it's important, not only the $3.1 billion, but the missile defense, cooperative missile defense. And it's at a year when there's a lot of talk about budget constraints, competing demands. So just ask each of you, within your own caucuses, what's the temperature right now on aid to Israel, and more broadly on a American role in the world and funding an American role in the world?
Well, I agree with Kevin pointed out earlier that he's most conservative member, but I think the overwhelming majority of the members of the House of Representatives and the United States Senate agree that investing in Israel is an investment in America's security, America's values, America's future. Now, I want to caution, though, everybody here. There has been a proposal, I do not know whether that will be followed through, of cutting very severely our foreign aid. I do not believe that that will adversely affect Israel. But what I do believe, to the extent that it is further and further cut and Israel becomes a larger and larger percentage, it will then be a focus and may well raise controversy, not that we don't need to support Israel, but that we have so little going to other places where we need to maintain security. General Mattis has pointed that out. Kevin, and I know you've discussed it as well. So we got to make sure that not only do we meet our obligations, which we have agreed to under the Obama administration, agreed to with the Congress of the United States, of the 3.3 and the $500 million for the missiles. Right. I think Paul said about Iron Dome being so spectacular. He's absolutely correct. What a success we had there. What a great investment that was. But we need to make sure not only does Israel's support remain strong, but that we also remain strong with other nations, not only in the Middle East, but around the world, to make sure that we maintain our alliances that will be good for Israel and good for us.
Congressman McCarthy.
It's true we have a financial challenge. But if we all crave peace in the Middle East, why don't you help the only democracy in the Middle East that believes in freedom, gives people the rights? That's the place we need to be. What's even more importantly, when we look at our budget, why don't we fund our friends first? That's why Israel will always win and always be the first investment of where we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman McCarthy, Congressman Hoyer, and
I know that Kevin and I want to thank all of you, because what you do every day, every week, every month, every year is to make sure that your neighbors and friends, our country, and members of the Congress know exactly what the issues are, how critically important they are, and give us good advice and counsel as to how we can make sure both Israel and the United States remain strong and free and successful. Thank you all very much.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good.